Hello, welcome back to my world of stuff. Werewolf by Night is a special Halloween season presentation from Marvel Studios that dropped the last couple of days on Disney+. I think most people sort of agree or have the opinion that Phase 4 of the MCU has been a bit hit and miss. I contend that this is largely because there's been so much of it. The previous phases were just a handful of films, so it was easier to find a through line, of continuity, a sort of a quality level across the previous phases. Phase 4 has been much more out there, much more expansive, with lots of films and TV series, and inevitably they're not all going to hit everybody. For example, there are a few of the TV series that really haven't worked for me. I wasn't a big fan of Loki or Moon Knight, and I've pretty much given up on She-Hulk, although I did watch the recent episode with Daredevil, which is quite good fun. And some of the films have been a bit, Eternals wasn't great. Thor: Love and Thunder was merely tolerable. So yeah, I think they're offering so much material now that some of it's going to find a more appreciative audience than other parts of it. It doesn't necessarily mean the Marvels on the ropes are struggling. It just means that they're throwing out so much stuff that not all of it's going to hit the wall. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is a matter for you entirely. However, Werewolf by Night was for me one of the ones that really hit. I really enjoyed this. I was very pleased when this was announced about 18 months ago, I think, because I was a big fan of the original Werewolf by Night comics back in the 1970s, and it always amused me that they were written by Marv Wolfman, who was quite a well-known comics writer at the time, but it seemed a perfect symmetry that he would write a title like this. This version bears only a slight resemblance to the comics. I mean, the comics were a very different beast, if you pardon the pun. They told the tale of a young lad called Jack Russell, who was cursed by this family inheritance of the werewolf gene, and it was his sort of adventures trying to find a cure, trying to find sanctuary. This is rather different because it's been pitched and created much more as Marvel's first foray into the supernatural, and a particular type of production. It's meant as an homage to particularly Universal horror films of the 1930s and 40s. It's filmed pretty much all in black and white, and that's also because they can get away with showing some blood, because there's a bit of blood splatter towards the end, but of course, because it's all blacks and greys, it's not quite as in your face as it would be if there was like proper red gore flying everywhere. The story, though, basically here is that there's the usual MacGuffin that we have in these things called the Bloodstone, which gives the owner the power to control monsters. The previous owner of the Bloodstone, Ulysses Bloodstone, has died. His wife, Verussa, has brought together a group of fearsome monster hunters, including Ulysses' estranged daughter, Elsa, played by Laura Donnelly, to Bloodstone Manor, where they will compete to gain control of the Bloodstone, which is embedded in the body of a monster. Quick spoiler if you haven't seen it yet, the monster is Man-Thing, another creation from the Marvel 1970s horror comic boom. Among their number of these hunters, there is one Jack Russell, played by Gail Garcia Bernal. We don't know his particular secret at the beginning of the story, but the story just gets on with it. This Bloodstone is secreted in its hiding place, and the hunters have to wander on the corridors and catacombs of Bloodstone Manor, fighting each other to get control of the Bloodstone. Eventually, Jack finds himself reluctantly teamed up with Elsa, which leads to a hugely climactic battle in the manor, which Jack has to resort, or Jack is forced to resort to his bestial nature in order to save his friend, the Man-Thing, and to liberate the Bloodstone and stop it falling into the wrong hands. This is great fun. This is really enjoyable 45 minutes. It took me 5 minutes or so to get the feel for it, because it wasn't the Werewolf by Night I remembered. But I really love that homage to the Universal films. There's a lot of it's done with shadows and lightning. There's some lovely little scenes where the little flecks, watermarks on the screen to create this illusion that it's actually an old piece of film. Performances are quite ripe because they have to be in this sort of thing, but it does straddle that line between Marvel modern knowingness and this sort of homage to a bygone era of horror filmmaking. Very much, very atmospheric, It has moments of humour rather than striving for out-and-out laughs, which I think is a problem for Marvel when they try and do comedy. It demolishes any drama in the situation, unfortunately. But there's some, say, great performances, some great visuals. A lot of this is clearly done sort of in camera. I think the Man-Thing himself clearly is a CGI creation, but the werewolf appears to be a fully formed costume. And it's nice. It's got a bit more grit and viscera to it than a lot of Marvel stuff, because it is venturing into the horror realms. And I do remember those horror comics of the 1970s, Tomb of Dracula, Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing's own title. They did these black and white comics which are aimed at a more adult audience, which was, I think, in a way, the beginning of the graphic novel sort of consciousness that we have today with comics, although I think it's gone a little bit too far. So all in all, I really enjoyed this. It's something very different for Marvel. It's directed by Michael Giacchino, who's better known for doing work as a composer and provides the soundtrack for many films. He did incidentally create that famous and still spine-tingling Marvel fanfare that we see at the beginning of all Marvel productions, and he's put a nice little spin on it for this particular production. So it's really well produced and directed, very confidently directed, bearing in mind it's his first full directorial production. I think he's handled it very well. A lot of people are now saying that he's the perfect man to do Blade, which has fallen into some disarray at the moment because its director walked away about 6 weeks before it was due to be start production. So I don't know if he will step in and take over. But it's a nice diversion. It is a Halloween special. It's a shame they've released it on the 7th of October rather than nearer Halloween. But everybody seems to regard Halloween as all of October now instead of a few hours on the 31st of October. So you've got to go with it. Highly recommended, though. It's really good fun. And I hope it paves the way not only for more Werewolf by Night, because it clearly sets up that there's room for more. Obviously, we need to know a little bit about Jack's origin and the Man-Thing's origin and how they've come together and where they go from here. It does sort of bleed into colour towards the end, which does suggest that it's, you know, it sort of plays on the Wizard of Oz theme, because you get the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow played as it bleeds into colour. And of course, Wizard of Oz famously started in black and white and went into colour. But I think it certainly leaves the door open for a lot more. So I really hope we do go down this road, because much as we love our superheroes, Marvel do a lot more than that. And I think it would be nice to see, I'd love to see their take on Tomb of Dracula. That would be really good, because I think Dracula hasn't been best served in recent years. We shall say no more. It would be nice to see Marvel's take on that on the screen. Anyway, that's all for the future. Werewolf by Night is on Disney Plus now. Highly recommended, very highly recommended. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 big stuff points. Right, thank you for watching. If you're watching this and wondering, there's not been anything new from the Halloween tapes for the few days. I've recorded a couple more. I may put them out, but that series doesn't seem particularly popular. I don't think any of the videos have got more than about 40, 50 views. So I will probably abandon that as a regular thing, but I probably will put up during the month the ones I haven't put up yet. But there will be more of the usual random stuff coming up soon. Right, thank you for watching. Keep watching. Until I see you next time, keep taking the Halloween stuff.